Welcome back, folks. So on today's episode of Combat Cars, we are working on the Piglet doors. We have to cut out the old rust, strip it back, get it repainted and hopefully hang them on the vehicle. So grab yourself that cup of tea, sit back and relax and enjoy. Hi, I'm Ross and you're watching Combat Cars. And don't forget, like and subscribe. There we go. That one worked. No. This one's not going to work. It just wants to pull the threads. Alright, so I got it to take the tap. I've lost maybe the first 2 threads or so on the top. There's still plenty there to hold the helicoil, so it should be fine. And these 2 here, I'm going to replace that piece there anyway. And if I'm not happy with this, I can always replace it back further if I wanted to. But we'll see how that goes. Right, now the helicoils. A little bit of cleaning fluid. I'm nearly out. Just to get rid of the oil off that. So these are helicoils. We have a special tool then for putting them in. And I usually put a little bit of Loctite on there to make sure they stay in position. And then we break off the little tab inside. Right, the reason we use helicoils is so that we can use the correct size bolt then. Otherwise you could just drill them out and tap them to a larger size if you wanted. But I want to keep them all the same if we can. I'll put this one in a little bit deeper because we've lost maybe the first couple of threads. There should be still plenty there to hold it. The angle grinder on that now. So we managed to have one more to do up here, and then that will conclude the repairs there. I have a bit of this 2x1 on order. Alright, so we're looking here at the driver's door. Yeah, you can see here there's a lot of rot here, a lot of rust in here. She's gone through there, and these 2 studs are broken here as well. So we got to replace a section of this and a section of this. So this is where the armoured glass would fit in. So this would be the inside of the door. And yeah, I'm just trying to work out now how much of this I need to cut away. Initially I was thinking I was going to cut it about here, But I think I might actually go back a bit further, maybe to here, and replace that whole section, because this is it's rotten here at the bottom as well. Yeah, it's not in great nick, and I want to definitely replace these two, drill new holes for those. So I did helicoil these few here, so I might be losing this one unfortunately if I cut it back here, but I think it's for the better. Anyway, what I'll do is I'll make up the replacement piece as though I'm going back to here. I'll make the replacement piece first, and then I'll cut out this and see. I'll cut it out probably from here to start with and see what it looks like, and then I can cut down the piece to suit the replacement, to suit whatever I cut out. I'll go right in the middle of these two here. So I'll make the piece just a bit longer than that. So what would that be? Right, roughly there. So I want to cut a piece 16 inches. Oh, we'll go with 5 inches. Right, that's the start of it. And I want to put 5 inches now. Okay, so I need to know the angle at which to cut this, which means I need to know this angle, and I use this tool here, and it allows me to find the angle like that, and then I'll be able to run that along and get the angle to cut this at with a 5-inch part. And then I want to cut this at an angle there, and then it's important to use the same face to mark it on the other side, otherwise the angle will be going the opposite direction. I'll do those two cuts first. So that gives us the angle there. I know this will sit forward a bit because part of this is cut off. What I need to determine is where this piece will weld to this. So now the other thing I want to know where that's going to be. Now, so that gives me the bend. Okay, so I just done this off camera. We have the angle there, which is correct. I squared it up this way as well, so these are both square and correct to each other. And I just ground down this bit of a weld so that it sit flat on the bench. So the next thing I need to do now is cut this off flush here, so that I can put a plate on the bottom here then. Right, there you go. Okay, so the depth of this here, so this measurement here is actually too big. I was hoping this 2x1 box would just weld straight in the way it was, be nice and strong, but it doesn't. Originally the frame of the door would have been folded, but I can't fold that on a conventional press. It's just too tight and too deep. So I had to make it up out of this. Now, this is 2-inch box. And our door frame is actually 1 7/8, so we're 1/8 of an inch too thick. Now, the problem with that is when I come to cut this out, I need to be cutting, just taking off the bottom, but I can't do that. If I cut it this way, I'll cut too much off. I'll take away too much material because it'll be more. It'll end up being about 3/16 that I'm taking off. So what I have to do is I have to cut it this way. So I cut out the bottom bit first, leaving the full depth to the side, and then grind down the side to the height that we want. It's a lot of work, but that's the best way to do it. So that's what I need to do now. And I'll do that before I weld on the top of this. So I've marked the side that we need to take off. Nothing worse than going to all this trouble and realising you took the wrong side off and you can't use the bit. So this is the bit we want to remove. Now, I'll do this one, and then we can mark it up and see how much material we have to take down. Very little. So at the moment we should still have the full 2 inches. So what I need to do now is mark it for the 1 7/8. Now, that should be it. Now, so I've marked that all up. And what I'll do now is I'll change over to the flappy disc and I'll grind that all down. And you'll find that I've put a line on it, but you'll find all you're actually doing is just taking the curvature off the metal where it's been rounded. In this case it's forged like that because it's box section, but if it was a folded piece it'd be where the fold had been stretched around, this metal had been stretched around. So all I'm doing is taking that off, and then hopefully we'll be left with a piece that's the right thickness, right height. Alright, so that's it ground down now. I just stuck the tape on it there. We are bang on 1 7/8. So I'm happy with that. Next thing now is to weld on the cap here. Alright, so we've cut a piece out. Weld that on there. I've left it shy so that I can dress off the welds when I'm done. I'll just round the corners a bit. Right, that's the repair section done. Right, that's it done. Now we have to marry this up to the door and see how much we're going to take off. Something that might be obvious to you but wasn't so obvious to me is that this piece is narrower than this piece. I thought it was all the same all the way around. So I'm probably going to have to adjust this a bit here. But other than that, I think that's going to work out rather well. I have to cut this to length now. I'm going with this size here. So cut this to length, and then start test fitting. Okay. Right. We have cut it down to size, cleaned it all up, test fitted it, and I just put some well-through primer on there. Okay, that's the repair piece welded in. Unfortunately, due to poor battery management on my part, I wasn't able to film all that. So anyway, the door's done, repair is done, and I replaced all the broken studs, drilled them out, and I put in inserts instead. So instead of using helicoils, I took the helicoils out and I did inserts. So that's it there, ready for a bit of primer and some paint. So next now is to move on to the other door and start working on that one. Okay, this is the passenger side door, and it is a lot worse than the driver's door. Okay, so it's gone in the front the same as the driver's door, but it's also gone all the way along the bottom in several holes It's worse underneath than it on top here, but you can see there's a hole there. And then it comes all the way back up the back end as well. So I've got to do basically half of that window frame has to be replaced. So a bit more work than the other one. Right. Right, that's the repair section done. Bit of work in that. Now I just have to cut out the old piece and weld that in. Hey! There you go. laid down this flat plate that holds in the glass so that I can line up all the holes and mark them. I'll do that now. There you go, that gives us a mark for each hole. There's 2 broken off up here, I might do them as well. That needs to be ground down. Okay, so it's that one. Change this over, I'll drill a pilot hole first. A pilot hole, and then I'll come up a couple of sizes. As I'm drilling out the stud, or the broken bolt, so this is the thread insert that I'm going to use, and I need to drill a 9mm hole for that. Okay, so this is a nut riveter with it comes with special rivets, nut rivets, and you just screw that up onto the correct size one, like so. Pop it in the hole and crimp it. Unscrew it. And we have a threaded hole. It doesn't matter that it's a little bit proud because there's a rubber gasket that goes on. It'll absorb any bit of the raised bit that's there. Right, that's the passenger door repaired. I used nut rivets to repair the threaded inserts. And yeah, that concludes the repairs that I have to do to the vehicle. Well, almost. I have to hang these doors, paint these doors and hang them. That's going to be a bit of a job, I'd say. Yeah, and the passenger side where it was rammed, there was some damage to the armour plate, so that has to be repaired. But that's almost done now. Just got that repair to do and we're done. The only other things I have to do then is I have a bit of fabrication to do. So I have to make up a rear step for it and a few other bits and pieces that are missing. But yeah, we'll crack on now and get this thing ready for paint. Okay, that's the passenger door lined up, or at least it's as good as I can get it. If you look closely there at the windscreen, that area, the top of the windscreen needs to come out at the top there to widen that gap. It's the same on the other side as well. And not much point in me lining that up here because he's got new windscreens for it, so he's going to have to take that windscreen out and fit the glass in it, the new glass in it, and when he's doing that he can adjust it then. It's just a matter of adjusting it to get it to the right spot. But yeah, that's it anyway. So the next job now here is going to be to weld in the missing piece in there and grind that down, and then I think we can get a bit of paint on. Right, this is the driver's door, right hand door, and you can see there is a slight sag on the door. Not a lot I can do about that. That was the way it was welded up. So these kits were done and then sent to Remy, and Remy would have fitted them in the field. And if you notice the hinge, the way that the hinges are done, let's see if we can zoom in on that there. So there's bolts and it's welded, so it would have been bolted together originally, lined up by whoever was fitting the kit, and then welded into place. And as you can see, they didn't really do a great job because there's a wider gap at the top than there is at the bottom, but that's the way it is. I'm not going to cut those welds and redo it. And you can see again the gap there, or the way that the front windscreen is kind of leaning back a little bit. Not as bad on this side because the door is sagging. On the other side the door is opposite, it's actually raised a little bit. But anyway, that's it, that's the door. See, oh yeah, you can see there as well the nice hinges done by Stephen, hinge pins. He machined us some new hinge pins, and they're rather nice. They've got a grease nipple on the top there, and they're drilled all the way through, and a split pin then for the bottom. And that's the way they were originally, only the original ones were completely, well, one of them broke and 3 of them were worn out, so we thought it best replace them. Okay, so you can see I V'd it out here. You can't really see it here, but I have V'd it there as well, and then this is the piece I'm going to fit in there, and you can see I've V'd that out as well, so we'll get a good penetration in there. I'll put a root weld in and then a cap on top of that, maybe even 2 caps, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. Alright, that's it done. Looks like it grew there.